Bharat, you all set?
You can hear me, right? I don't need a mic. Hello everyone, a warm welcome on behalf of Chennai DevOps Meetup. It's really exciting to see all of you guys here. A big applause for that. Okay, so sorry for all the security thing. I also went through that. We'll try to improve there. So that will be done faster. And the next thing is, let me speak about this Chennai Jenkins area meetup, and let's set the stage for today, what we're going to discuss today. And next, we will be seeing some of the basic stuff in Jenkins. So what is Jenkins? So how many of you are using Jenkins? So that, okay, that's a great number. So how many of you are, this is the first time you're hearing about Jenkins? Okay, so what is the version of Jenkins you use, whether it's enterprise or open source? Open source. That's great. Okay, so this is the first series. Okay, so today Cloudbees will not be joining us because it's already midnight in the US, right? So from next meetup, we are trying to have it in the afternoon sessions, like 2 to 3. It'll be like workshop hackathons. This is the first introductory meetup. That's what we kept it like theoretical. We don't want to overwhelm with you or details. So from next thing, we will have like workshop kind of things, like a lot of exciting stuff for in the pipeline. Just check out meetup page. Like we are doing this with Chennai DevOps Delivery and Jenkins Meetup in association with Cloudbees. So we have got some good swags for you. So please don't forget to collect it at the end of this meetup session. And next is so thanks to Cloudbees, so they sponsored us the swag. So we had to go through a lot of difficulties in order to import it from US, but finally we got it here. So we will deliver that to you. And next thing is, so we wanted a lot of people, like we wanted places to organize this meetup going further, and we look forward for your contributions. Like if any one of you is interested in organizing this meetup, please let us know so that we will add you as one of our co-organizers, so that you can speak with the organizer and get a space so that we can host it there as well. So we wanted to be we wanted to meet up to one organization or something. Basically, I'm from Horizon, and AstraZeneca is also supporting us, and we wanted to build a community. So after this meetup, we will provide you a A4 sheet where you can leave your contacts. So we'll share the Slack channel, and next is the Jenkins WhatsApp group details, so that if you're facing any issues, right, in Jenkins, so just don't in your WhatsApp group so that you will get attention immediately. Okay, so there will be Cloudbees guys also, so that you will whatever, if you're stuck somewhere in Jenkins, so really it's a powerful tool. So actually, I've been part of a lot of meetup groups in Bangalore. So if you'd heard that there is a Bangalore Jenkins area meetup group as well. If you see there, we have a Slack channel there, and then we have all this WhatsApp group. So every day we used to get a lot of messages. We support a lot of people there. So that's the power of community, right? So we wanted to see that enthusiasm here in Chennai. So we are capable of it, and we will prove it. And a lot of contributions should go to this open source project. So later on in this workshop session, which is in pipeline. So what we will do is we will design a workshop session for the entire year and publish it in our meetup page. Please do look out for that in advance so that we can process your security process in advance. Okay. And next is once this basic today what we're going to see is first we will it will be a basic session, like we'll see what is Jenkins, so what is actually doing it, and next is with Jenkins 2.0 there is a new plugin called pipeline as a job. So we'll speak about that, what is pipeline as a job, so why it is regarded as a very important version of Jenkins. So that we will see. And next, we will see about Blue Jean version of Jenkins. Okay, so there is just a white paper. We will go over it. Blue Jean one. It's a cool UI. So Blue Jean is again a plugin. So we will see about that. And next is we have Sagai Raj. Okay, so he's from Horizon. So he's a Jenkins evangelist. So he has helped our entire customers, so like roll out Jenkins, and he has a lot of experience, so he's going to share his experience with us later this session. So I'll give a basic introductory session, and from there we will take it from me, so in order to discuss about how Jenkins can be used at enterprise level. Okay, so that's the stage. And next is please don't forget again, so do let us know if you're interested in organizing and if you're looking for lots of people to engage with us so that we can make it a more collaborative environment. Okay. So first we will discuss about so why Jenkins. So why we needed to go for Jenkins. So there are lots of other tools like why Jenkins is important. And next we will see about like some of the CI/CD components. So continuous integration, delivery, and deployment. What does that mean in Jenkins perspective? And next is we will be seeing about installing and configuring Jenkins. So for now, I will installing and configuring Jenkins. I'll be theoretical here, but in the next workshop we are going to cover that. We will have a session, so we will do it in an AWS instance. Like we'll spin up an EC2 instance. In that from scratch we will set up, like we will do an installation complete. We'll build a project from Git repository. Soon after you commit it to your Git repository, how you can automate the build deployment, that we are going to see in the next workshop session. So we'll announce the date soon. And next is we'll see about the project. So if you see in the Jenkins 1.0 version, there was a project called Freestyle project. Okay, and next is in the 2.0 version, they released like the pipeline as a plugin. The latest release, they told about this pipeline as a plugin job. That. And next is with that I will end. And next Sagaraj will be covering like how Jenkins can be used into enterprise level and how we can scale up the Jenkins instances. So if you see within Verizon, we are having 5 portfolios. The entire Jenkins infrastructure is serving that 5 portfolios. So how that orchestration can be done. So those things we will touch base on that. So why we need Jenkins? So Jenkins, again, it's as you told us, most of you know, we have 2 versions. One is open source, and another one is like it's an enterprise edition, which is supported by cloud-based. So that is what it's a powerful open source tool with an impressive plugin architecture. You can see like with Jenkins, we have thousands of plugins. Okay, so which supports a lot of functionality. So we will discover that how to. I will share you a GitHub URL where we can check what are the plugins available, whether it's compatible with pipeline as code or not. So those things you can check it. I will share that GitHub URL. And next is it's basically an open source automation tool. And next is it's an impressive plugin architecture that development team automates their software lifecycle. Your entire software lifecycle can be automated using Jenkins. So that is the power of Jenkins. And next is Jenkins is used to power many industry-leading companies like software development pipelines. So almost all the big enterprise addition to small startup, starting from small startup to big enterprise, are using Jenkins. It's because of the simplicity, and it's easy to understand and install and configure. So basically, if you see like if you ask people like whether I need to go for CI/CD, So why don't I do in a monolithic way? So initially, whenever we recommend people to go for CI/CD tool chain using Jenkins, that's the question which we get from them. So soon after they know about CI/CD, so they discover about like what is CI/CD, how I needed to configure it. So, damn, so why I have not done this so far? So that's the reactions from them. So it's a interesting concept. So what it happens, it's like it helps you to deliver your software code um, in fast fashion. So like you're ready to go to production at any time in a day. So that's what the original CI/CD, the power of CI/CD is. And moreover, in CI continuous integration, so we'll see about that continuous integration as well. So this is basically who uses Jenkins. So I'll reserve the CI/CD for later slides. So we have slides on that. So we'll go through what CI/CD and how it helps the enterprise customers and the whole software development lifecycle, to speed up the whole software development lifecycle. We'll see through that. And next is who uses Jenkins. So this is an interesting question. So whoever works on software development project, if they're involved in software development project, then they can use Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins will find a way into it. So you can see like within our organization, what we do is like the entire flow, the code flow, like security scan, we do it using 45. So that, and then once the scan, finding the vulnerabilities and then reporting the developer, and then if there is a build failure, notifying them, and next is fixing the build failures. So immediately, so and adding new features, everything will be done seamlessly. So we'll do a lot of commits in a day. So that's what to the mainline without any major issues. That is the whole power of Jenkins. So we'll see that why that basic workflow, how it works from scratch. And next is, these are the people who will be using: application developers, your web developers, and IT operations people. And next is your system engineers, and of course, like us, DevOps engineer. Everyone will find a use case to use Jenkins. So it is a well-defined architecture which suits all these people. Next is we'll see about continuous integration. What is this continuous integration about itself? So continuous integration is nothing but a software development practice. As many of you know, you will be the first step of DevOps itself is having a source control repository, right? Where you need to manage your code and you need to see like what is happening with my code. So if there is if multiple developers are using my source control repository, it's really difficult to manage. So in such cases, continuous integration is recommended. So what does this continuous integration means? It's like the developers are committing their work frequently, so into their repository. That's the whole about continuous integration. Not like in at least once in a day, so they should do it. Not like waiting for all the code to complete and then commit it, because at the time some other developer would have done some change, and that might conflict with that, and that might cause issues, and it will cause a lag in your project delivery. So in order to improve that, it is recommended that in continuous integration, you need to merge or you need to commit your changes at least once in a day, or even if it's possible more frequently, then that's completely fine. Next is this results in multiple daily integrations to your mainline. So you're having a mainline in a Git repository. So in that mainline, so you're committing it to it. You're creating a branch. You're doing a developer, all your development in that branch. Once all your work is over, you're committing it to the mainline. Okay, so whole automation is that. And next is we will see like soon after you committed your source control repository. So your Jenkins will be come into picture here. So there is where soon after you commit, what happens is your Jenkins detects that there is a code committed in your GitHub or source control repository. And next is soon after it starts the build process. It starts the build and it runs the unit test, and see like how it does that, the whole process. And next is to the approval process, and then it does all the integration tests, smoke tests, performance tests, everything is automated. If there is any issues in that, it automatically notifies the developer. So all this pipeline and then once everything is fine, so you can integrate Jenkins with continuous deployment, which goes ahead and deploys your code directly into your server. So that's right from development to your production. Whole in the every phase of software development lifecycle, that's how Jenkins is involved. So this is the basic workflow. So what you will be doing is like you will be checking out from an source control management repository like Git or AWS code commit or SPM. And next is you're going to branch it and make your local changes in that branch. So that is what a developer wants to add a new feature. He's going to take a branch and he's going to make the local changes. Add or change testers as necessary. You would have heard about test-driven development, right? So in such cases, what they used to do is like initially they while developing the code itself, before developing the code, they used to develop the test cases. Okay, for that code, whatever they're going to develop. Initially, it will fail, and after development, they again run the test. It's a iterative process which we call test-driven development. So you can do that using Jenkins as well. And next is if successful, consider committing. So once your code is successful, your build is successful, you're committing it. And next is update with latest from the mainline. So you're updating a code. So getting the code, you're in the local branch, you're adding a feature, you're testing that feature works finally. So okay, everything is successful. Then you commit to the mainline. Soon after you commit to the mainline, okay. So update with the layer. What does your Jenkins does? It pulls from your code from the mainline, and it builds the code, and then it goes through the subsequent process, which we'll be seeing. Like it's going to do a unit testing, and then it's going to go through whatever it's like. If you want a security scan using Fortify or whatever, for everything there is a plugin. So Jenkins has that is one of the powerful feature of Jenkins. So for whatever you find, you can find a plugin. So there are millions of plugins out there, and if you're not able to find a plugin, then you can develop one. So we'll have a workshop on that as well. So where how to develop Jenkins plugin, but it's not recommended to develop a plugin because if it is already there, because it's again a rework, right? So what you can do is like if it doesn't support your requirement, you can go and tweak all the plugins. Most of the plugins are open source, okay? So you can go and tweak the code, and it's easier. Next is once you're updated with your mainline, what happens? It's like you push your changes, you build and test on an integration machine. So that's how this from here is where Jenkins comes into picture, and it picks up from there, and it deploys your code. It does all the activities for you, and then it is the entire process is automated, and it deploys to your production. Next is this is an interesting feature. Why? It's because like it gives me most of the things are automated. So whenever I say automated, it gives the manual errors, so that I don't have to depend upon anything. So if you're doing manually, there are lots of scenarios where we can miss something. So that will not happen with automated. So it's one of the DevOps best practice. So you need to automate as much as you can. Okay, and so that's the whole picture. That's the whole objective of Jenkins. Some of the best practices are whenever you're going for Jenkins, so you need to maintain a single source repository. So if you're having one application for that, there should be one source control repository. You need to ensure that. If you're having multiple repositories, it confuses it, right? So which developer using which repository, it creates a lot of confusion. So it's always best practice to ensure that you maintain a single source repository for applications if you're going to involve Jenkins. So next is have a common mainline branch. So usually master. So if your code is being developed or shared by, it's being worked by multiple developers. So it's always recommended to have a common mainline branch for all the developers, so that soon after they commit the feature. So if whatever the feature he has developed is going to affect yours, whatever you have done, so you will get a notification in an earlier stage itself. So you will. So as you leave the bug, for example, the cost of fixing a bug increases exponentially as it goes through different phases of software development lifecycle. Okay, so the whole best practice of this is to ensure that you identify a bug at an initial stage itself, fix it there, and then go on to production deployment. So you're ready for any time. That's it. Next is you automate your build. So using Jenkins, we are going to automate a build. And next is minimize potential for user error. So if you automate things, it helps us to prevent the user error. That's as I told earlier. And next is make a build self-testing code. Okay, so like soon after I commit, so the ideal Jenkins workflow should be like soon after I do something, soon after I commit a change in my branch to my main line. So the Jenkins build pipeline should kick in, and then it should handle the whole process of the production deployment. Sure. And that should be that feature should be like we should be confident in a way like we should do it multiple deployments in a day. We should be capable of that. That's the real power. So if you see in enterprise level, even within my organization, we don't do a continuous deployment. We just do continuous delivery. There are a lot of difference between continuous deployment and continuous delivery. We're going to see about it. So what we do in our organization is continuous delivery, but we are moving towards continuous deployment. So we are always thinking like how we can do continuous deployment, how I can make my code ready for production anytime. If my manager comes and says, today you needed to, this application needs to go to production, I need to be ready for that. Okay, so within minutes or seconds. So how can I do that? So that's what we're going to discover. We will touch base on that. And next thing is this session, so like I told earlier, I'm reiterating that this session will set the base for the next workshop. Okay, so next session we will see like how you can build the entire project. So we'll start from scratch, like spinning up AWS instance, and then installing Jenkins, and then building your pipeline, and then integrating your Blue Ocean plugin. So for that, which has a wonderful UI structure. So those things we will see in the next workshop. So every commits frequently, at least daily, preferably. I was told at least once in a day. You need to ensure if you're going through a development, you need to ensure that your commit happens at least once in a day. And next is communication is key. So as I told earlier, so try to use a lot of today. There is lots of applications which enable us to communicate collaboratively. Of tools is there, so you can get it, but we'll try to arrange an workshop on chat apps as well, so how to build chat apps using Jenkins. Chat apps, it's nothing but like tool, so where you're using a messenger like Mattermost or your Jabber or Slack channel, so where you just interact there, you build or you deploy your code right from your IM window. So your instant messaging, that is all the power of chat up. So we're going to go through that. So we have plans for having that workshop as well. Next is that is communication is key. Ensure that all the developers are having at least one channel. If you're going to go for a new release, so start a channel in Slack or any collaboration tool. Ensure that all the developers are there in that channel, so that everyone knows what is happening within the system. And the whole power of DevOps is collaboration. So even if you automate everything in DevOps like cycle, and if your team is not collaborative, that is not a real DevOps culture. Okay, so that's why we iterated this point. Next is frequent merge will help to avoid conflicts errors. So like a lot of conflicts error, this will help you to avoid. That is why we recommend to commit your or merge your changes frequently to the main. Next is the working branch should be updated as frequently as possible to avoid very large difference while merging. So some of the developers in monolithic way, what we used to do is we used to wait for entire code to be developed, and then we used to commit it to that shouldn't be the practice. Okay. So if I'm doing a small change as well, so I need to commit it so that I know what's happening. There is any issues in that, so that I avoid it very early. And next is build every commit. So every commit you're making to the GitHub, so you should invoke the Jenkins pipeline, and you build the code and see the build is successful or not. If there is a build failure, then what you need to do is you need to first fix the build failure. Then only you need to move on to seeing through the next features, even its priority one. In Jenkins build, if it fails, your first priority should be fix it and then move on to the next feature. Until that, that should be your first priority. That's the best practice. Next is automate, keep it open, and everyone should see what is happening. So and so like I told, prioritize your broken builds. So rather than feature, prioritize your broken builds. And next is keep your builds fast. Okay? See like all the processes are streamlined, and it's your jobs are building fast, and if there is any bottleneck anywhere, identify that and resolve that. So that's it. And next is testing environment should be close to production. So there is a spelling mistake there. It should be close to production. So like you need to have your testing environment. Like sometimes, many times, what happens? It's like my production environment is not having my testing environment is not having the same hardware structure as my production environment. So those things we need to try to avoid those things, because I will not be getting like for example the real power of the code. Okay, so it will require a lot of hardware structures and the performance thing. So I just always recommend to have a infrastructure which is close to production where you're testing all your code. And next is make it easy for anyone to get the latest. So you need to, if any developer want to get the latest code in your build pipeline, then you should be make a arrangement. So such a way you need to design your your source control repository such a way anyone who wants to get the latest code, they should get it easily. Full focus of that. Next is automate the deployment. Make it easy, keep it open. Everyone should see what's happening. There is a collaboration, then automate the deployment. Soon after the commit happens, so the deployment should be good. You just push the button and then commit it. From there, it should be production by automation. You shouldn't touch anything. So that should be the ideal pipeline. So what we'll do is we'll drive this community, everyone of here. So we will have a lot of hackathons, workshops. So we'll move towards that. And then we'll see, we'll have a lot of concepts. So the fun part of learning something that's by doing, okay? So not by saying. So just since this is our first meetup, we wanted to interact with you, and we want to see how creative and enthusiastic you are. And next, we'll go for the workshop. So where we will avoid all the theoretical section, we'll do it in action. So that's going to be interesting thing. And next is, we'll discuss about continuous delivery. So what is this continuous delivery is about? Continuous delivery, it's a software development lifecycle where build and release to production regularly at any time. This is what continuous delivery. Most of the enterprises are doing this today, like using source control repository, Jenkins, everything. So this is how it works. So continuous delivery, it's like it can be. So if I say continuous delivery, I mean that it can be released to production at any time. So it is ready for production deployment. My code is always ready for production deployment. Next is software is always deployable through the SDLC lifecycle. And whatever SDLC lifecycle stage I'm in, my software should be able to be deployed into production. So that is the whole power of this continuous delivery. So not breaking build, let's prioritize over adding feature. I told that earlier. So if you're going to, there is a broken build, and if you're trying to work on other features, that is not a, okay, so you need to first prioritize your build failure, fix it, and move on to the next feature. And next is feedback is fast and production readiness is low. So why it's recommended is feedback is fast. If I'm going to, something is failing in my code, I'll know it at an early stage, and I'm always ready for production deployment. And next is push button deployment are possible for any version of software, of any version. That's what I told. So just click the button, commit the code, your code is boom, it's in production. Okay, so that's how your whole power of push button deployment. Close collaborative working relationship. This is a DevOps culture. And next is extensive automation. Whatever you can automate it, or so start it slowly. For example, if you're a startup like today, you not having even a source control repository, first practice is to have a source control repository, and then had a Jenkins pipeline where it builds initially, and then stage by stage you automate. There are lots of tools for automation, and Jenkins supports a lot of plugins. And within our organization, we use Selenium so for testing purposes, where Jenkins builds an entire Selenium grid and test. It runs all the test cases in that Selenium grid, and then it publishes the results. Once it's successful, it goes ahead and deploys it in production. So we should move towards that. So that's the whole line of this extensive automation. So major difference between continuous integration and continuous delivery. So we'll compare continue. I told continue. What is continuous integration? It's like committing a code at least daily, at least once in a day to your mainline. So that is what. So continuously is the delivery, it's your ability to release your. So you wanted to send it to a production, so you can do it at any time. Continuous integration is just the practice of integrating code continuously. So integrating a code, right? Whatever feature I'm adding today, I need to integrate it to the to the mainline. So that is what continuous integration is. I'm integrating the code. Whatever I'm doing today, it's in the mainline, so that anybody can pull in and see what's happening if it's going to break any other features within my software. So that is the basic difference. And next is this is an important concept between continuous delivery and deployment. So when we say CD, it defines like either it can be continuous delivery or either it can be continuous deployment. Like continuous delivery means it can be released at any time, but you can see I have highlighted the code can. Okay, so it's like, okay, I can release it anytime, but I'm not confident about it. So if you are saying continuous deployment, so it is actually released as part of your automating the continuous deployment as well. So like whether whatever it's like, whether you're deploying it to your WebLogic server or your Docker image, whatever it's happening like doing it already. So that's the whole power of continuous deployment. So if you see, most of the enterprise are in the continuous delivery phase. They are trying to move to continuous deployment. Where if you're into continuous deployment, you can make a production release n number of times in a week. Okay, so for that's Microsoft is doing that. You can see like if you see earlier you needed to install Microsoft Office, it will take a hell lot of time. Now if you see, it's seamless. It's because they are doing it from cloud. How they are doing it is like what happens is soon after they have automated the whole continuous the software delivery pipeline. So what they do is like soon after new version of software is created, so they spin up a new infrastructure. So once that infrastructure is online and everything they deploy it there, and then once it's operational, they bring down the old infrastructure. They just change the infrastructure like code. So that's the whole power. That's why they are very faster in releasing. So nowadays, if you see the Microsoft Office installation is seamless. Okay, so that's the basic reason for behind that. And next is, so we needed to move towards every enterprise in software development lifecycle should be the objective. And next is this is how the whole continuous deployment pipeline will look like. So what you do is, so you start develop, and then you source control management, you commit the code. This is the origin branch in my repo, so I committed to it. So your pipeline starts. This is where your Jenkins kicks in. Okay, it starts building whatever I committed here, right? So it starts building. So it checks out from the main line, from my source control management. And next it runs the unit test. Okay, so from here I just push the button, pipeline start. Then next is it checks out the code from main line. It builds it, it launches, and then it tests. So the next phase is once the build is completed, successful. And next is run all the testers like your integration test, smoke test, end-to-end test, user accepted test. Everything is ran here. And next is once everything is accepted there, your acceptance and integration test, everything is over. We find if there is no issues, it automatically goes and deploy it. And then once it deploys, it generates a report and see whether the build was successful, what was done. So in the pipeline, so those things it tells, and next your pipeline ends and your code is into production, it's operational. So this is how the whole flow of Jenkins is. So I'll stop here to take any questions until then. Next, we're going to move to the pipeline as a code. So pipeline as code, and then have landed over to Sagaya for further sessions. Any questions until then?
Continuous delivery and deployment diagram is typically the same thing. Only different push is manual versus
Yeah, the deployments is automated. So if you say continuous delivery, so you need to, there is some manual intervention in deployment, so where you need to ensure that you can, but in continuous deployment, right, it always ensures that your code is ready for production. You can, once you click on, once you enter the, once your pipeline starts, it will be into production. That is a continuous deployment. Whereas in continuous delivery, before production, there should be some manual step. So I need to again check or everything. So those things. So that's the basic difference. So did I answer?
I'm just trying to understand in the
Yeah.
realistic scenario, what's the difference? It's about the same report.
Yeah.
Seeing if something went wrong or not.
Yeah, so if there is any, say if there is any issue, so you should see it here itself. So soon after you build your code, right? So it will tell like whether code is working fine or not. So there will be a build failure. And then again, if there is any unit testing, so you will get notified here itself. So yeah, so even continuous delivery, the only thing is the basic difference is in continuous deployment, you have automated the deployment also. So like you can see that it automatically pipeline ends soon after the pipeline it's deployed into production. So whereas in other scenario, continuous delivery, so there you need to go and you need to deploy it manually. So maybe all the tests until the test is over, so it is done. Then for either you need to have a separate job, you're having a separate job for deployment and Jenkins. So next, move on to. So we'll see pipeline and Jenkins too. So what are the features available in pipeline and Jenkins too? So like so continuous delivery, as I told, it's a software engineering project where you produce software in a short cycle, ensure that software can be reliably released at any time. Okay, so like it's something which I took from Wikipedia. So it's like it whatever I thought about the continuous delivery, it reiterated it. So it's like the same thing. So that's what I wanted to share. So it's a straightforward and repeatable deployment process. It's more continuous delivery. So you should be confident that it can go to production at any time. Next is Jenkins 2.0. So you can see all the feature in this Jenkins.io/2.0. So all the features have been listed in there. Please go there and discover that. Next is what are the two basic themes of Jenkins 2? It says pipeline of a code. So front and center. So what is pipeline as a code? So we're going to see that in a moment. And next is the whole Jenkins 2.0 release was based on this pipeline as code. And next is improved out-of-box user experience. In Jenkins, the first version, right? If you see the UI, it was like very difficult for any user to see what's happening within my code build. Whereas in Jenkins 2.0 and within Blue Ocean, you will see like the UI itself, it's very impressive and it helps me to identify what's happening with my build so easily. So that we're going to see. Next is user interface. Lots of user interface improvements happened in Jenkins 2.0 version. Next is so pipeline as a code. So it was introduced in pipeline as a new type in Jenkins. So it is one of the Jenkins plugin. And next is so codify an implicit series of stages and into an explicit pipeline definition in source control. So what you are doing is like you define your code stages. Okay, so how it in your pipeline. So you will see that in a moment. We will see how to build a pipeline. So you define your stages, different stages of your software development lifecycle in Jenkins stages. Whereas what is there in your source control, define in the Jenkins file. That's the old feature of it. Next, extend the DSL to meet organization needs. Like you're committing like whatever the organization needs. Like if it needs to see, it's like a giving an old visualization of what's happening with my build. So whatever my organization needs, okay, so I'm going to align with that. So that's the whole purpose of this pipeline. Next is creating pipeline. So how will you create a pipeline? That's like this is a basic Jenkins UI, which you will see. So earlier in the Jenkins 1.0 version, so you will see like there will always be the freestyle project, whereas in Jenkins 2.0, you will see an options here. So a pipeline plugin. So this pipeline plugin, so you need to select this pipeline plugin, and then from there you need to build a job.
And what is meant by first pipeline?
So
In terms of Jenkins, how it is, why it is named as a pipeline, and what is meant by that?
okay, so a pipeline is like whenever you're running like your code runs, right? So soon after it runs, like there are lots of stages in it. Okay, so if there is a failure in one stage within the pre-sale project, so it is difficult to analyze it and what's happening with that particular build stage. So that visualization is provided by pipeline as code. So an easy visualization. So what's happening and which particular stage in my whole pipeline, in my SDLC pipeline failed, that orchestration is provided by this pipeline as a plugin code of Jenkins 2.0 version. So Sagai will talk more about that in the pipeline as code. So there is a demo for that. Not sure about it. Yeah, so we'll explain you about that in an enterprise level. So I'll just touch the basis of it.
If you are still not clear on that, what is pipeline, I can explain it again. Do you need it? Okay, pipeline is generally a group of stages chained one after the other. What you want to achieve with your development life cycle. You want to commit your code, and then after commit is done, you want to see your code into your test environment, and test being done at the end of the deployment. Okay, so first code commit, then you make a build, then the build is deployed into a test environment, and then you make a test on of your code what is being deployed, and you publish a result out of it, right? So these stages you chain one after the other, and you visualize what is being currently executed and whether something is broken or succeeded, and you see everything in one screen. That is pipeline. Is that clear?
And one of the advantages of it is like you have an entire piece of breaking into phases. If a particular phase fails, you can execute that phase alone. You don't need to go from the start. So that's
Yeah, that is the feature of the pipeline as code in Jenkins 2.0. But pipeline as such, you chain stages together. So that's what pipeline is all about. Carry on, Bharat.
Yeah, so this is how it will look like. So you will have your, so there, soon after you're creating a pipeline, so what you'll have is like, these are the three basic structures where you can see your pipeline as a code. First is like, you can either write a Groovy script for your pipeline as code. And next is you can see a lot of syntax here, or you can change it. You can either have an inline script here, or you can get it from a source control repository. Even this pipeline script you can maintain a source control repository. You can do it like what needs to be, how my pipeline should look like. So we'll see a sample script. So the first one is like I told, from where it should take my pipeline script, whether it should be an inline script or whether it should be from an repository like Git or something. So that it's handled by here. Next is if you're going for inline script, there are lots of sample script there. You can just try out it. Okay, so soon after you install Jenkins, so and add a pipeline plugin, so you will see this option. So where once you start your project, so the first screen after installing Jenkins, you will see once you create a job is like this is a screen which you will be seeing. This is the screen. And next is from there, once you click on pipeline, so you will see this screen. From pipeline, here you can either add your inline script from Git, inline script, or take your script from Git repository. Or there are certain syntaxes. So this is there's still pipeline syntaxes. Okay, so where for various activities, for build, test, those things, right? So you wanted a sample script that will be displayed there. So this is once you do a pipeline plugin, so your Jenkins files will look like this. So it is a simple file where there are three stages of my pipeline. Okay, so first one is build. So it builds from a source control repository. Next one is test. It runs Cucumber, which, as you know, it is one of the test suites. So it uses that. And next is it's deploy. So it's as simple as that. So once we add this, so this is how your Jenkins file will look like. So it defines the three stages: build, test, and deploy. This is a simple one, but you can create a complex one as well. So there are lots of samples out there. So we'll be doing that in the workshop. So you will see that we'll build a complex workflow for that in the next session. Next thing, you can find the pipeline documentation. Here's a ivo.doc. So there are lots of information how to configure your first pipeline as code. And next is so once you have built your pipeline, like so you can add different stages, like for the source control thing. So for build step, so what needs to be my source control repository, and so that I'll be adding that here. And next is in my pipeline success from which source control repository I need. And next is next, this is the testing stage. So what are the stages? So I need to select the testing stage. And next, a generator as well. So soon after you select the type of stage, so it can build your script for that, the SSH script. So this is all about the generation, the DSL reference. So like it produces soon after you select for this snippet generator. So what happens is whatever you type in, like whatever you're trying to add your script, that it auto generates and tells like whether it's a build stage or whether it's a for. It helps you actually to build the script pipeline script for various stages of software development life cycle. That's the basic functionality of this. We will see about pipeline plugins, so the extending plugins. So what happens in pipeline plugins? So there are various views in pipeline plugins. This is a stage view. So what's happening with my different stages of software development lifecycle. So you can see that which particular stage has failed. This, so once you run using pipeline as plugin, this is how your screen will look like. So you're seeing the each stages. Okay. So what is happening within my stage? Which particular piece of my stage failed and why it failed, and you can fix that and you can start your Jenkins build from there. Earlier in freestyle version, so it should start from the beginning. So here it's not the case. So it is failed here. You can again start your build from here. You don't have to go from right from the beginning. So that's the whole power of pipeline as well. Next is pipeline plugin. And next, you can represent pipeline for multiple branches in one folder. So if you have different branches within one folder, so that option is available in pipeline as code. Quickly scan the repository for each branch which contains a Jenkins file. So for each repository, whatever the Jenkins files, so I've shown you the Jenkins file soon after I configure the pipeline. So for each pipeline, it takes the Jenkins config file, it reads that for that particular repository, what should be done, whether it's going to build test or what it should be the process. So that it takes from that Jenkins file and it deploys it. This is basically like GitHub organization of your folder. So how you should organize your GitHub folder for this plugin. This folder plugin, there is a separate Jenkins organization folder plugin so that you can maintain your different repository. Whatever I told, right, in order to maintain that, you can use this particular plugin and you can do that. Like if you wanted to have different, like I told, you wanted to have different branch within the same folder. Okay, so then you can use this plugin and you can organize it. So you can see that there are 3 different folders within we wrote release engineers. So there's 3 different branches. So I mean, there's 3 different branches have 3 different Jenkins files. Once the pipeline is kicked in, so it runs on different version of stages for 3 different Jenkins files. So that's all about it. So this is the blue version of Jenkins. Like the normal Jenkins will look like a plain UI. So so this is a basically a blue version of Jenkins, like how it looked like. So what are the different stages, and then which stage it from what are the various whether it's what is the branch and what is the job it ran. So those things and all it can display it can visualize in a full way. So because it's a Blue Ocean is nothing but a visualization plugin, so which it's like enhances the visuality of your whole Jenkins screens, so that you can identify different stages and what's happening with my Jenkins instance. Next is so this is all about how to configure the Docker pipeline plugin for Blue Ocean. So we'll cover this in the next workshop. So it's so our next is integration with existing. Sure.
As per my understanding, pipeline means from dev till the production.
Yeah.
The whole for an application.
Yes.
Can it be duplicated for any other application like reusability of it's possible for new application comes to we have to develop a new.
So you need to have a
Can you say
separate
that again?
job.
So pipeline is possible, or for if any new application, do we have to develop a new pipeline?
You can reuse the pipeline.
The job configurations we need to change, right? The repository and those things we need.
One thing is that the pipeline as code can be developed as template, and you can parameterize your job configuration, and then that can be reused across all your jobs. That is possible. And also you can hard code your code and into your project, and for every branch you just go and modify the values that has been passed on. As code, it is templatized and you can reuse across multiple branches, multiple projects.
How can you control it in one pipeline? Shouldn't you have two different pipelines, like a build pipeline and a deployment pipeline? Because when you go for continuous deployment, then you might have qualified release candidates, okay, RCs. In one pipeline, how can you just shoot up to production?
You want to invoke another pipeline from?
Yes, indeed, because there might be release processes or strategies where people might have to be involved to push it to production. Maybe it was also a click of a button. But the thing is, if we just put whatever to test, whatever we code in the trunk, and then it is all the way moving to production, how can you actually bring up the control, believing that even the tests are passing and integration test is going, the release candidate really eligible for production?
There is a promoted pipeline, and which based on the test result, that conditions can be validated and can be eligible for production deployment.
But normally, can I have two different pipelines? Like, can I just keep a build pipeline and then I can say there's a deployment pipeline, whatever qualified with my build pipeline. Maybe I go for a weekly, then I at the end of the week I have the service window, then I.
Yes, that is possible. That is possible. You can have two different pipelines, one for build and to till the non-prod environment, and one for production
So they run in
environment.
the same instance or a different?
No, the package, the end result of the build pipeline, you can deploy it in a repository like Artifactory, and from there your next pipeline for production deployment, which will pull out from the repository storage and can proceed on the deployment.
It's just like how we design it.
Maybe in addition to
Pipelines, but
Yeah,
You
your
ready?
question is about the release. I think we will be having
Because we use
multiple-
WebSphere, okay?
No, just I'm telling that you will be having multiple releases, but that multiple releases will be on the stash only. That means the repository, not with the Jenkins build. The Jenkins build will be collecting all those information from the stash, and it is going to deploy.
Yeah.
So you will be having a multiple iteration on the stash repository, not with the build.
so it's just that both can be running in
Pipeline.
inside the same instance.
Yeah.
You need to trigger to this instead of pushing it.
Okay, so these are the plugins. So I'll share this PPT. You can see like we have made a list of all the in this GitHub link, so you can see all the plugins which is pipeline, which supports the pipeline version. So pipeline is plus plugin. It's a real power of Jenkins. So we recommend these are the few plugins which is provide custom steps for pipeline scripts. So there are lots of pipeline which is being modified in order to support the pipeline plugin. So you can go and see it here now. And so this is like the how your pipeline, your plugins will add steps to your pipeline plugin. So that's all about it. And next with that, I'll actually these things again it will be covered by Sagar. So I'll hand it over to him for a more detailed discussion on pipeline as code and enterprise Jenkins. So that, thank you.
Thanks for the detail in CI/CD pipeline, how to implement it. And yeah, thank you guys. And this is time for break. And snacks and coffee, tea is available out there.
10 minutes break, please.
Yep.
Come back again for the next session.
So Sagar will be involved. Sure. Actually, this is just an introductory session. Next, so someone will actually, this is like we want to wait for next workshop. So that's this is the first meetup. Right? So no, not for me. So it's like Jenkins here jam.
I should make him now. Doesn't any.
Jenkins will be bamboo. Whereas in Ansible,
Right, we'll be back in 10 minutes.
உங்களுக்கு வந்து ஒரு software
With
வந்து
the break.
different servers ஒரு 10 AWS instanceல இருக்கு. அந்த 10லயும் நான் Java install பண்ணா you will go for Ansible.
I probably can put it on.
You can use Ansible Puppet with Jenkins. So for that there is a plugin.
ஸ்டார்ட் பண்ணிடலாம். எனக்கு வெரி குட். Can you stop presenting please and then start again? Wi-Fi password is medical biologics 0. That's it. Till 0. B and L are kept. Correct. 0 is that 0 is not there. The D are okay. Good afternoon, everyone. Are you all set for the next session? Yes.
Just a quick reminder about the tweets. Ramji Sundaram is leading with 4 tweets for it. Remember, most people, the most number of tweets gets a T-shirt like this. Good. Yeah. Thanks.
Okay. So before I start, let me introduce you myself. My name is Sagai Raj. I work as DevOps engineer in Verizon, Chennai, and I am a certified cloud-based Jenkins engineer. Okay, and I do love the nature. and I try to follow in every possible way, try to help the nature. So I try to avoid polythene covers as much as possible I could, because the need of the hour is that we protect the earth so that we leave it for the next generation. Otherwise, we die with earth and the earth is ending soon. Okay, so therefore I ask everyone to get involved in the nature support. And these days, I also start following the nature way of treatment. I do not go to medical medical clinic for any ailment. Even if fever, vomiting, and asthma, diabetics, anything for that matter. So your body is your healer. Okay, and that's a short story about it. Jenkins. Okay, my agenda for you today is because we are all working in an environment where we need to scale the Jenkins for an enterprise level, and many companies need that. Options that are in front of us is the cloud-based Jenkins version and open source Jenkins version. With open source, we can leverage that for as many as jobs, but then as it grows beyond 2000 jobs or so, then you start feeling that you need to have a better alternate or a highly scalable environment. So therefore the options in front of you is like go for the cloud-based version, but then again the cost factor is big. And I'll cover you with the architecture, how we can design it with open source Jenkins for enterprise scaling, and the general practices that you should be taking care of in the enterprise level. So backup, job naming, and node naming. So all these come into picture because you need a better management. Otherwise, on a big organization with open source system, for a period of time, everything can go into junk junk format, track and trace anything that you need. So therefore, you need a systematic procedure to handle all of these one. All right. So like I mentioned, Jenkins open source, when it goes beyond 2,500 jobs or so, it is not manageable. So what you need to do really is like do a vertical scaling up. So that means increase the hardware configuration in terms of memory, hard disk, and processor. Okay. And the scaling is required because Jenkins is generally deployed on a single machine. It's not designed for multiple high available structure. If that server goes down for some reason, and all of your deployment, these days Jenkins is the center of every DevOps orchestration, and everybody will start screaming right from the development to the production deployment and to the customer. Hey, my job is not there, my task is not done. What happened to Jenkins? So the Jenkins administrator take the pain to fix it as soon as possible. So the immediate best thing that they can do is fail our entire thing in another machine if the hardware is a failure. Okay, so how do you architect it? So that's the idea for this one. And also while you do that, if just in case, if you have two computers in two different URLs, but sharing the same data in a network storage or something, on the URL as it changes, the tools that you integrate with other tools like Jira, Stash, you got to change the URL again after the failover. These things. Wanna cover it quickly. In cloud-based, apart from the open source thing, you get a highly available architecture. That means as the number of jobs grows, and you see that suddenly 5,000 jobs, they can automatically instantiate new master and allocate the new jobs into the new master. So therefore, you will not feel the performance lagging there. And also, they have a systematic testing of the plugins and promote to the environment we have. So that is cloud-based assistance program. And as far as the nodes, right? if you have a separate node, separate Jenkins masters, you will have to allocate node. Node is nothing but the machine where the jobs are getting executed. Have a separate node list on each master, they cannot be shared. But with CloudBees, they can be put into a shared pool of nodes, and that can be shared across all the masters. And the pipeline checkpoint with the 2.0 pipeline as code, as Bharat mentioned, that has got the ability to restart your job where it was getting executed before the sudden restart or machine crash. But that has got a limitation, like it can start over from the stage, not from the exact point where it failed. Let's say your stage is going to run about 45 minutes, and when the restart happened about 30th minute, then it has to start from the first minute again. It's not from the 30th minute, right? So, but checkpoint is a plugin in CloudBees that they give you to mark for key stages, for key steps. You can add this step, and up to that step, the metadata is recorded. It's restarted. You can resume from that, but it's not available with open source Jenkins. So there is always a trade-off when you go for cache-free software and proprietary software. So that's the thing. And custom update center is the another thing that they offer. Like today, for any plugin you need to update into your environment, you go and check the plugin center and update it. But as we get mature and we see that our requirements keep increasing in DevOps journey, you start developing your own plugins, or you pull out the code from the open source list and you make some customization to it. And when you do that, you keep uploading it manually. But when the number of plugins get increased, you find it very difficult. So that's a cumbersome to the Jenkins administrators, right? So therefore, you set up a separate plugin update center. So the plugin update center, there is another plugin for that, and it has got a lot of workshop to do that. Unfortunately, we cannot cover it today. Okay. So these are the options that is already available in the and folder plus. Folder plus in open source, we have the folder option. Earlier, when Jenkins was started, everything was created under one single umbrella. And when there are many project teams, you got to have a naming standard within the job to organize your jobs. But again, there were no folder container or placeholder stuff there. And later on, CloudBees developed the folder option and open sourced it. And now it is available in Jenkins 2.0 as a default feature. But in addition to that, folder plus can give you tight control which jobs can be executed. And from this particular folder, only these jobs can be executed against a particular node. So there are a lot of control on the node and folder related jobs relationship. All right. So when you go for open source, you will have to manage all of this one, and still we can leverage with the available features. We can try to have a high available infrastructure. So the architecture is as this one. First of all, we need to have installation. You need to have bare minimum like 512 MB RAM. That is only for testing. But when you go for production environment, you at least expect 6 GB of RAM in your environment, Jenkins servers. Okay, that will support about 1,000 jobs. Okay, and when you go for more and more jobs, RAM configuration and processor configuration. So another thing is network storage. Why a network storage is basically you're going to have two machines connecting to one network location, and one will be up and in a time, and the other will be in dead mode, okay, passive mode. So once the primary server goes into a disaster state, then automatically a program needs to detect it and bring up the second environment. It's not that the second environment is running and watching for it. It has to be in the service has to be stopped in stop state. All right. And to connect this one, like I mentioned earlier, you have one single URL that will connect to all of your other tools, interrelated tools, right? So therefore, you need a DNS name talk to your backend Jenkins servers via load balancer or reverse proxy to set up. So this is how the structure is. Any user, developer or a DevOps engineer for that matter, everybody goes and access your Jenkins URL, and the request goes to your load balancer, and the load balancer detects which computer, which Jenkins master is on at that particular time, and sends the traffic to it. And that node has a number of slaves or node agent connected to it. That label job configuration association, the jobs are getting executed on the node. So if you see that picture here, Jenkins master 1 and master 2, they both are connected to one common network storage. That is in our on-prem location, it can be another storage. If you go with the AWS environment, EFS is similar to NFS, right? EFS in AWS. So is there any question on the architecture? This is what I'm going to demonstrate a bit here. If you understand this structure only, the next part can be clear. Slave.
It's just a process or a different physical machine.
It's another machine. It can be physical machine, it can be virtual machine, it can be Docker engine, it can be any other container like Rocket. It's basically a computing process.
That agent is not there in the users.
Which one?
That agent will not be there in the
Users?
Will not be there.
No, it's like
No, user is just a client to access the Jenkins. You may, I mean, in a small network, you may make your computer as one of the agent, but at that again is one of the computing process. You are connecting with the Jenkins master.
You have two options and to run your jobs. Either and you can put it in a master or you can put it in slave. It is up to you. Right, and your compile your build deployment needs that there should be a separate node. Probably, and we have to go with the creation of separate node.
Okay.
Can help with parallelization.
Yeah, agent help you with the distributed builds and parallel execution. Parallel execution basically a configuration parameter in your job, how you want to execute it. Otherwise, it's always sequential. No separate Jenkins, it's a slave process. Yeah, the main process is Jenkins master, which will be connecting to your slave process via network process, and where a Java process slave Jenkins slave process will be running on the node that will be connecting to your Jenkins master. That's how the handshake is happened. Build progress is made. The logs that you see on the Jenkins master is sent across through the Jenkins slave process. Yeah, you can use any process, any load balancer, Nginx, HA proxy, Netscaler, Citrix, Citrix Netscaler. Sorry, yeah, in AWS ELB. But with the ELB, you do not have a capability to rewrite the URL. Right? So that's not available right now.
And one more. We have two replications, right? Two masters. So is it possible to keep part of jobs in master 1 and part of jobs in master 2? And this load balancer predicts in which master the job runs, and will it redirect it?
The load balancer will decide that.
Yeah, that's right.
No,
Based on
what
your-
you're saying is you have single URL
Yes.
and have a separate masters running at the same time. Split the jobs in one master and the other part is another job. Whether load balancer can detect and go to that particular URL, right? And that cannot be done.
Instead of giving it different.
Yeah, that cannot be done.
Otherwise,
Because of the technical reasons, like whenever you try to hit that URL, it does not know where exactly to go and fetch for that job. So, and also if you share it, two Jenkins process cannot access the Jenkins home directory at the same time. And if it does, the data is going to corrupt.
What is the master 1, master 2 can be, master 2 can be a backup of master 1.
Right.
Except, so in case of any failures, it will be redirected.
The web files, right? The web archive extract is going to be separate for both machines, but the Jenkins home is going to be shared in one particular shared network.
The Bash pool Jenkins will be common.
Sorry?
Bash pool Jenkins location.
Bash pool.
Jenkins job location.
Do you mean that by Jenkins home directory,
Yeah,
where your jobs node configuration reside?
Only the VAR will be running.
VAR will be running in different machine. Jenkins home will be in a network storage. Okay, I hope that is clear. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to show you how to do that with the simple infrastructure. I do have Windows machine with me. I am going to install and configure this with Nginx. Okay, the automated failover is something that can be done according to your Linux environment also. You may have to look out for the failover solutions like Keep Alive. In Red Hat, you have that pacemaker, right? So that can be used. But otherwise, in the cloud environment, let's say AWS, right? So the high availability is always high. In AWS, we can slightly differentiate how this works. You can create one auto-scaling group. That auto-scaling group, keep just one instance as the minimum and maximum. Whenever this dies, another instance is starting up, and it looks for the files in the EFS storage, and it comes up, right? So that's how you will do it with the AWS slightly differently. So we are going to see the demo now. Yeah, I need a chair. I'll take it from here.
Okay, you need a mouse.
Okay. First thing, with this computer, this laptop, I'm going to emulate a two-computer environment network. Okay. So consider that machine A and machine B is there. So first for that, what I'm going to do is like I'm going to create a host entity so that two different URLs we can visualize, right? Okay, in the host file, if it is Linux, it is etc host file, and in Windows, that's to drivers etc host file, and put in your IP address and the DNS value that you want to get access via, right? So I have two machines, two DNS values pointing to the same machine. Okay, and one more machine I'm going to put. So that will be the load balancer host, which means this is the URL that everybody will be accessing in your network. Okay, so I made the configuration. So I have to make sure that I'm able to sync those values. Okay, so this is also working. So I hope that the other one is also working. So first thing is you install your Jenkins. So in order to install your Jenkins, now like I mentioned, the requirement is your network storage. First, you install the software on the machine one. If it is Linux, you will use a RPM, Red Hat Linux means RPM, and then you have different packages for Ubuntu and other Linux OSs. Just go through the installation instruction on the Jenkins page and install it accordingly. I have taken the here and just copied over, and I'm starting with the simple Java command. So I'm creating that thing. So my Jenkins home for this first mission is cdemo jn1 home. Okay, and I start my Java program as Java bar and web root. That's where the files are getting extracted. And to running on the same machine is you need to have different port for different instance. So the port here is 8080. So I make sure that that is set, and I go and start it. Okay. So once I started, so I'm going to verify if I'm able to first see i.jenkins.com. So that's what I intended to. Because
No,
J is
two
not
times.
huh?
Two times C1.
Started 2 times.
You tried 2 times.
Okay.
C1 to there you can see the difference.
That's right.
Probably it will not work. Some other, default port 80 is pointed by the IA server. So right now, that's not working. Okay, my port was 8080, and I will check that by this.
starting J.
So here I type okay, so now the first instance is running. As a prerequisite, I will run this configuration admin. So this is my my first instance, here you can see job 1 is available. Now, the load balancer is not configured, so therefore we are unable to access it. Now I'm going to set up load balancer. For that matter, I'm utilizing Nginx as my proxy server or load balancer server. Okay, so I download Nginx and I just go and edit Nginx configuration in the conf directory. So the key here, there can be different type of balancing done in Nginx. What we are setting here is the active passive failover. It's not load balancer. Okay, load balancer means when there are 10 requests and 2 computers are serving in the background, the load balancer has to take all the 10 requests and distribute between the 2 computers. But here it is not doing that. So it has to transfer all the requests to one particular computer, and just in case if that fails, then you redirect to the second machine. So that is active passive failover. Okay, so here in Nginx configuration, there is an upstream configuration. Okay, so here I do have what are my computers and the target ports it is connecting to 8080 and the 8181, right? This is my primary server, second one is my backup server. So primary server is currently running, and how do I access this one is like server name here. Right now I set it to localhost. Now I can change it to ci.jenkins.com. So this is the URL, Jenkins common URL for all the users as well as for the interconnected tools. Okay, now I save that.
So port will be 8,000.
The Nginx, the default URL, I'm using 8,000 to connect to. I'm not using the default 80 because default 80 is already reserved, okay, by IIS. So for that matter, I'm just using 8,000. So now once that is done, you go and start your Nginx. Make sure that the process is not running beforehand. Task manager in Windows to verify that there is no process running. Now, okay, you see this? It is working. Okay. When I do this, it is connecting to my master one.
Ensure that and we are utilizing master one. Is there any
Yeah, that's what I just showed you that, right? In the Nginx configuration, you have upstream and you give a name as backend servers.
Sagai, I meant in dashboard, right? In dashboard, probably there should be a.
Okay. You want to know which computer is connected through. Now there is no option to view that. Groovy script, you can go into the Groovy console, execute it, and find out the IP address of that machine. Okay. Right now, both are same machine here. If I execute that script, it is same host name. But if you are connected to 2 different hosts, that script is going to give you which computer is online. Not only that, if you go to in Jenkins, there is a monitoring plugin, and you just access that monitoring. It will open up the statistics, the number of pros being hit. There you will see that host that is being currently served. Okay.
Now, can you tell me the last line? The proxy pass.
This one, what it means is this is the front end. Nginx is the front end to the user's request. Once it receives the request, it has to send the request back into another computer. Where it has to forward that request is what you see it in the proxy pass. So it will say HTTP colon backend is translated into your j1.jenkins.com 8080 and 8181. So first it will go to the primary one, that 8080, and if it is inactive at that moment, will be going to 8181. So always 8080 is checked first. Once it makes that 8181 as the primary, I mean it makes it as primary, and that the first one will become a secondary at that moment. Okay, clear? So now this one is currently working for the master one. Now I am going to start one more instance and show you the difference whether the cluster is going to the master one or master two. Okay. Here port 8181 is being utilized, and this is now starting. While this starts, I'm going to access it. J2. Started. So at present, I have configured two different Jenkins home for both masters because I want to show you going and heading. It's the master one or master two. Okay, here the job is job two. The first one is job one. Okay. So now the load balancer is going to the master one now. And just in case if you want to see which computer is currently in cluster, we asked how to check that. Okay, the plugin is not installed. In the meanwhile, there is a Groovy script. I am directly going to the script console, but as an administrator, you can always go to manage Jenkins and then script console. Always problem.
Port.
Port. Okay, I got it.
Details.
We need to go to Jenkins configure system, and we have to set the URL in there. Otherwise, this is going to break every now and then. Okay, so that one you should set. Now I'll do the script later. Now I will just cover what it is currently working on. We have both nodes are up and running, and the load balancer is going to the node one. Now I'm going to stop master one. Okay. Here I'm coming to the load balancer URL. One is gone. Some data. The load balancer URL brings up the job 2 here, right? So that means the second node is connected in the load balancer, and that is what is active. Okay, any questions so far?
Why we are giving that remember this check remember it is not directed.
That URL, I mean, this that URL is changing.
No,
right?
when logging in, see username password. Remember, this computer is checked. Even though the password is not popular, it is not automatically logging in, right? Remember, it's
No,
not-
it will not automatically log in. So automatic login is something integrated Windows authentication that you need to set up separately. But here, both username and password will be pre-filled. You can just click and go. That does not mean it will take you to the page directly. No, we'll cover that later. Okay, that small things, right? We'll miss out that. Right. Correct. Nothing to do with cloud-based. And again, we are not going to demonstrate cloud-based, and we do not have the software as well. Okay, so why I showed it cloud-based was cloud-based has so many features, and we can try to equalize with open source whatever is possible. And the biggest gain is like with the introduction of Jenkins 2.0, you have the ability to resume your jobs from the point where it failed. That was the biggest selling point for cloud-based before Jenkins 2.0, where right that breaks means you have to start again right from the beginning. Now that's very well doable here in Jenkins 2.0. Of course, the stage time you have to start again. Right? Uh-huh. No. Here only I'm running it for the demo, but in the real-time environment, both will be installed on different machines. It's not going to be on the same machine. Then what is the purpose of having HA? HA means high availability. When one machine goes down for some reason, crashes, or it is coming out of the network or failure or so, your second machine should pick up and start serving you the Jenkins dashboard.
Both should have the same job.
Can you speak up a bit?
Just for the differentiation. Both server, master server, should have the same job. There should be a synchronization happen.
Right.
But whereas here you are including a point status, it can also be like this.
No.
Because the HA is not.
No, I'll show you that.
It's
See,
shown
it's a
a
matter
sample.
of just configuration, okay? Demonstrated now, but why I showed that way was because both the instances running on the same machine. Once I fail over, you will see the same job is displaying again. You cannot see the difference whether it is connecting to master 2 or master 1. So I wanted to give you that picture first, and then I will go and modify that Jenkins home directory where it is connecting to. All right. So now I will show you that. Consider that the JN1 is my master machine. Consider that this folder, what I am duplicating here, this is going to be a network storage. Accordingly, you have to mount in your Linux machine or Windows machine. Okay, a mapping has to be done, and that should be your Jenkins home directory.
Both will be the same.
Yes, in both the instance, the service startup parameter will be the same value. Right. So as the process is coming up, it is reading the files from the Jenkins home directory parameter. And when it is accessing the same directory, because it is a network drive and it is going to locate from the same directory, all the config.xml and plugin XML configuration, job XML, everything same for both machines. And therefore you will see the same data.
So that should be taken care by the backup mechanism, or it implicitly happens. Synchronization between two.
No, it is simplicity. It is a network shared drive, right?
So when you
Same
talk about high
folder,
availability,
two people are accessing. What will happen?
we're talking about high availability here. Not uninterrupted uninterrupted service availability of Jenkins service to the users. Now, in case you're using a common network storage here, again, if the NFS goes, it's a single point failure again, right?
Yeah, there also NFS should have a high available array setup. So that is the work by the storage team. They will be provisioning that.
If you say high availability, the whole system,
Everything, every component that is interconnected needs to be on high available mode. So that's when you have 99.99% high availability. Connected system is of a single point of failure, then you expect to inherit the same behavior even for your application.
The
So
scenario,
NFS needs to be
scenario
high
which
available
you are
mode.
explaining was it just showed that it's again there is a single point of failure if you have the common NFS, unless we have a backup or
Yeah, NFS will have a backup.
NFS is also got HA setup in the backend. The storage team does provide that.
Mirroring concept is also there.
Yeah. And load balancer, right? A machine that is sitting in front of the two backend machines, that also needs to be in HA mode. Otherwise, if that server goes down, the entire system, even though your backend servers are up and running, then your application is not accessible. So they need to have that HA for their application. So what we are focusing on is that Jenkins HA setup. So all the interconnected systems, we assume that they are available in HA mode.
Only an NFS or a DFS
Not FTP.
no HTTP.
Okay, so I will just go and edit my Jenkins parameter here. JN home, okay? So now both are talking to the same storage, same directory. Considering that it is the shared network, okay?
Okay.
That will translate into mount NFS Jenkins directory or something. So once that is done, you have to stop and start again. Groovy script is nothing but an script engine wrapped around the Java classes and Java program. Okay, it works JVM context. Okay, within Jenkins, it works on the same Jenkins JVM context, and it can give you the data, real-time data, right on the fly in Groovy console. So I have logged in here. Okay, now after we start. I have to refresh and see my data is there. Now this is what your question earlier was, right? Now the process is refreshed. The session are disconnected. Okay, so therefore it will reinitiate the session.
Default it always goes to right? By default, when you log in, manually you log in, it goes to the port 80.
Yeah, I just set up this thing, right? Always when you set up, you will you'll have to troubleshoot it. Here, IAS is also running. So I'm not sure what are the connections between these two. We'll have to stop one service and fix the redirection. So right now, I'll just go with the port typing manually. Okay, here both are talking to the same Jenkins home, right? So therefore, two processes should not access the Jenkins home directory at the same time, right? So I started it at the same time, so the data was accessed in the same time, and you expect that it can get corrupted.
The service should be started once this one is started.
Yeah, and that is usually going to be a automated program. Either you may create it or utilize the one that's available out there in the internet. Is keep alive. Why in the previous refresh, right, it did not show up, and that is because the Nginx, right, it has got a configuration. How often it has to go and check the primary master is connecting or not. So the time interval was just less than the configured parameter. So therefore it timed out. And the next time it checked, it was able to get the keep alive response from the master one. Response for you, right? So here job one is there. That means now we will go and create one more job here. Okay. I'm going to name it as differently here. Not job two. Okay. Okay, I'm changing my Nginx configuration to connect to the port. shared job is the one I just created, and now here this is my second machine. Here is because it is stopped. Yeah. So now this displaying from here, right? So node 1. Now I'll start the node 1 and start the node 2. Make sure that it is pointing to the same direction.
Yeah, it's pointing to the same direction.
So is it just the port is different? Okay, so Jenkins is up. Let me go and check the load balancer, okay? So right now, Nginx to the node 2, the Jenkins master 2 is timed out. So we'll give few seconds and check again. Did it come? So to your question, how to identify which master is running. So you will go to script console and just type the Java command print line inet address localhost host address and host name. That is going to give you the host name and IP address of the machine that it is running. Okay. Okay. So any questions so far? Thank you. And I move on. I will quickly touch upon.
Pipelines.
Uh-huh.
See the problem in the.
Can we come back to that pipeline later? Because I mean, I need to cover the naming and node here, some more stuff. I think this question is off the topic that I just covered. We can cover it a little bit later after I finish it up. Thank you. So backup, you usually, I mean, in the environment, you ensure that you periodically take backup of your Jenkins home directory. And it is simple, straightforward. You just compress everything in your Jenkins home directory. General practice is that you do not store the build output artifacts into your Jenkins home directory. Your Jenkins performance is going to go down. What that means is every time Jenkins is booted, all the build artifacts is going to load from the disk and it is going to take time. So therefore, you keep your Jenkins home directory possible. So that means offload your data into third-party Artifactory repository kind of stuff. Artifactory is one provided by JFrog and Apache Archive. These are the repository softwares. You can make use of this to upload your data from Jenkins home directory. And it is good practice to take configuration, the minimal configuration. The XML configurations are the key one for the Jenkins to be up and running. So if not the data, at least the XML files are going to be very small in size. You can install Git onto the Jenkins home directory and add a git ignore build artifacts like jar, .class files, image files, audio files, etc. Ignore all of these ones and just take backup of your XML files, and you keep it running every nightly or at least 2 times in a day. Okay, that means you are safe in your hands. And if you're on NFS storage, there is a NFS automatic snapshot provided by the storage team by default. You can even utilize it in case if you find any disaster situation, and otherwise you can take full backup using tar as well. Okay, job naming. It may sound not necessary when you start, but as you grow, for reporting purpose to your management, okay, which project is having how many jobs? Find out, go and fetch all of your jobs, pull out that information, how many build jobs are there, how many deploy jobs are there, how many deploy jobs are configured for non-prod environment. So that means you need to have a standard that can be used by all the project teams. So you derive a naming standard and you enforce it. In Jenkins, there is an option to enforce the naming standard. The standard is a pattern derived by a regular expression. Here I have given an example. For example, you can have a 4-letter job name. So the first part can be, if you are a big organization, you may have verticals like what your business is doing, and you may develop project for that vertical, and your portfolio can be the top level, and next one is your project. Projects can be having a code, or you may have a short name if you do not have a code. So on the condition that we have here is the business portfolio is like 2 to 4 characters, project name 3 to 5 characters, and component. In a project, you may end up with the more than one component as a end result. So let's say your backend component may be a service, and your front-end component could be a browser, web application. So what is the name of the component? We can have it. And then action performed against this component. A job, when we started with the freestyle, you will have a separate job for build. Okay, for backend service, a build job will be there, and there will be a deploy job will be there, and another one will be a test job. So you have 3 different jobs, and all of that have to follow this standard so that you know which job is for what. And then you can link one after the other to derive a pipeline view. So once you're in Jenkins 2.0 pipeline as code, the action can be simple pipeline, delivery pipeline or something. You can have it instead of build a deploy stage. You can define the stages: build, deploy, and test. Okay, so this is the job name standard. It is always good to have your regular expression tested out in any of the tool, either in your on-prem environment or in online. So online, one example is regex.com. You go and test it out. I'll show you quickly how we do that here. I always make sure that my regex works. Okay, so you need to have understanding of regular expressions. If you are not, you may try to get the help from the online help itself and try to formulate something one for it. Regular expression here. You may have some name in your mind. This is how my job name should be, and type that and see if it is matching. Okay, my portfolio is ABC, for example, and my project is account, and my component may be data. Okay, it says do not match. So because
0 to 9, 3 to 5 characters, 6 characters,
3 characters.
3 to 5 read.
First one to be either this or change.
Okay, so now it matches. So that means work, and then you take this regular expression, go and put it in a Jenkins enforcement, job naming enforcement. How you do that is you go to manage Jenkins, there is some configuration in the Nginx configuration. So here you will find restrict project naming. Here you come and select pattern and put down your pattern here. Alright. So force existing means for all the existing jobs, okay, it will be enforced. That means you cannot unless you meet the new naming standard. Job config, suppose you ensure that you're going to add a new build step in your existing job, validate it, and informs you to correct it. So you put the naming pattern here. Right after this, you cannot create a job as you like. So earlier I created shared job, right? Now I say again my test job. Okay, so it says in red color, already it is given, this is the problem. And here the OK button is disabled. Now I'll have to choose something that follows the pattern. This accounts are one component. Pipeline. Okay, now you see that it is already enabled. I can create this successfully. Okay, so that's how you enforce naming standard for your project. Similarly, you can enforce some. I mean, you can set something for your nodes, but nodes there is no inbuilt feature to enforce that. You may have to disable the node configuration permission for all of your authenticated users, but give a self-serve job kind of stuff. That means you pass parameters to your job, and you have some Groovy script within that job which will generate the node configuration for you. Afterwards, the user can go and configure your existing node. So the create permission should be disabled. If at all you want to enforce that node naming, this is how you will achieve it. So right now there is no enforcing standard as a feature. Okay. Even the same thing here. So like portfolio, like 2 to 4 characters, again project name 3 to 5 characters as we have seen in the project job. And short text that may be about the project. So this node is for this job. All this you do in case you have a specialized requirement and you set up your own node. But otherwise, it is recommended that you create a pool of nodes. I mean, the Jenkins administrators create a pool of nodes by Docker image or something. According to that label requirement, a different image will be taken as a base, can be created, and the jobs can be executed in it. To create an on-demand slave, you can utilize Docker as slave configuration and EC2 as your node, on-demand node, and Kubernetes also you can set up one. It is the cluster solution for the containers like Docker created by the Google company. Okay, you create a pool of computer in EC2 or in an on-prem server, and you create a cluster in the Kubernetes and give that name here. And based on your job requirements in Jenkins, it will go and create a pod there. I'm sorry if I'm giving you too much of information in terms of the Kubernetes. Okay, this is just a touch of information. Okay. Yes.
What is the problem?
There is no problem. It's a requirement.
No, yeah.
See.
Why some cases only we will go for that node?
Right. So node is nothing but a agent. Okay. Let's say your manager is there. Okay. He is given loads of job by his supervisor. Okay. Maybe company. Okay. He is given so many jobs, but he cannot handle all of that. He needs to delegate that work to his subordinates. So, like he passes his work to his subordinates, Jenkins master is just a supervisor. He cannot do the hard lifting job. He has to delegate. The Jenkins master has to delegate the job to another computer.
The another computer is called the node here, Jenkins slave.
Actually, it looks like a cluster configuration.
Yes, I told you that answer. It is just a computing process. It can be virtual machine, physical machine, a Docker engine, a rocket engine. Okay, rocket is another container. Okay, so label, right? Label is for nodes. For the Jenkins nodes, you create a cluster and put many nodes as much as possible in a cluster. And therefore, whenever you want to execute a job on a specific configuration, a label will be used to select the configuration. And for example, you choose Windows as the tag, okay, label, and you assign it to 10 computers. Okay, the same name you assign it to 10 computers, 10 different slaves. And when your job is to be executed, you can configure where you want that to be executed. So that is available in the configuration parameter where you want to execute that. There you will mention that you want to execute on a particular label. Label is when the label is chosen, it's a cluster of servers, and it will go and execute any available machine. So out of 10, one computer may be free. The computer will pick up your job and process your job and give you the output. That means all the 10 computers needs to meet the requirement for your job. Just in case if it does not meet, then either you should install the prerequisite onto that machine like middlewares, or that label should be removed from that slave configuration and make sure that the job is not assigned to that machine anytime. Is that clear?
So far, you told me the master. Getting a smaller.
You configure a node.
Balaji, we are at 1:15. Okay, so how much time we can still take?
1:30. We have lunch also.
Okay, so this case wants to have a simple demonstration on the node and the pipeline. We may not be having.
We'll make it another workshop for the upcoming.
Maybe for the
10 more
upcoming
minutes.
session, we can have this.
Can you make it faster? Is it possible?
Try.
Yeah.
Simple HTML page will do that.
Sure, sure. So I'll take my computer as a node again. So
Yeah, so again, you can use my Jenkins I have installed.
No, we don't have time actually.
No, he has one.
if I come and try to use that again, I may spend the 10 more minutes. I'll use.
We have 10 minutes time, so we'll make it faster as much you can.
Right. So master itself is one node here. Okay, and you can set up one more node. Find slave. Okay, so for now I'll configure this as JNLP node. Okay, I need to install that plugin. JNLP. Okay, so you're seeing this how to create a node is this way. You have to say where you want to put your slave.jar file. This is also your workspace. That means the directory where all the jobs are executed from. Okay, on the slave. Not Java directory. Your Jenkins job execution will take place from that directory. Java can be installed from any directory. Okay, so that's how you configure it. But once you configure it,
you can see the status. If the node is connected, you will see like this, okay, with no red color button on it. So that means it is connected and online. The other one is not connected. So we'll utilize master for our example. One gentleman asked pipeline, right?
Slave also will refer same trail, or we can refer in the home directory.
No,
Slave is for
every
working.
computer can have different directory as its home directory. I mean slave directory. Okay, but the practice advice is to stick to one common pattern in an enterprise core environment. So therefore, it becomes easy for you to do some management scripts on it.
See, slave is just to execute the work. Nothing.
Yeah,
They
nothing
don't
else.
do anything else.
No, nothing else. It does not come into reporting part, nothing. So everything, if you take the Jenkins, so there is always a pre-build step, then a build step, then post-build step. Build step and post-build steps are executed at the Jenkins master. The build step is executed at the Jenkins slave machine. Got it? So Jenkins master, I'm going to now I'll just configure my job. Okay, what do you want me to demonstrate? With one single job, I'll just execute on the master. Pipeline job?
Pipeline.
I'll just use hello world and thank you. Okay, these are two stages. I'll demonstrate that. Okay, for this time period, we'll just have that done. Okay, now, first of all, the pipeline plugin I have to use. Now, accounts pipeline I'm using. Already there is a job. I'm using demo here. So pipeline. Okay, now in the pipeline script, right? We just go and execute hello world. I don't know the syntax, right? I can always open the syntax generator. This one, give a name. And check that, come back. You can define. This is the pipeline. This is the feature from Jenkins 2.0. Okay, here we have given two simple echo statements, but within that stage you can rename, like I mentioned, greeting and thank you, right? you will usually just go and rename it according to your need. Build, deploy, stage. So this name, choose what you're going to do there. And then all the build steps that you want to get executed within each stage, either you may use the inbuilt Groovy script. If it's not available, then you may invoke the system commands to execute in it. Okay. So that's how you go with the pipeline job and how you execute. So if you look at this one where it got executed, you asked what is the purpose of node, right? So if you look at this job, right, so it says running on master. It's also a node, as I showed in the computer window, right? So master is also treated as one node here. So these are the available nodes, and on that one node is master. So the job went and executed in the master node. If you don't want any job to be executed here, then there is a configuration for every node, that is number of executor. If you make it to 0, that means the node cannot take any jobs to execute. So master is recommended to execute no jobs in it.
In the slave segment.
Yeah, because I do not have a slave, I fit this as a slave here.
The number of executors per node.
Yeah. Each node you can configure how many.
Put on number of executors that can be configured. Depends on processing power of the slave.
Let's come, you have the performance.
It's based on your load.
Processor.
You run like
And
10,000
because you're in
bills.
a network, an enterprise network, like we have demonstrated, it is good that you have an active system that monitors your Jenkins server. What all you can monitor? Your disk capacity, okay, your processor, your memory, whether it is high in usage or it is below the threshold value. You can proactively monitor and take actions proactively. Otherwise, your system may go down anytime, and you will have to sit and do the hard troubleshooting. Okay, so that being said, the couple of tools that you can utilize for it is Nagios monitoring and Pandora FMS. These simple monitoring tools available as free one. Security realm is the authentication process. Okay, so in enterprise, usually we have a Active Directory or a LDAP infrastructure where we go and enter our username and password. Once that is done, these days everybody gets an integrated Windows authentication against all our intranet networks. So this is being a solution like intranet solution within the company. You can have Active Directory or LDAP integration. Use your Windows login again to log in against this one, or you can even set up an integrated Windows authentication using SAML plugin also. So delegated server means just in case if you have hosted Jenkins under Tomcat or WebLogic, WebLogic's login process will be applicable to Jenkins. So that is delegated servlet container authentication. Jenkins one database, of course, when you start with the initial learning, you will use that. But as you get mature enough, you will probably move into the any of the three down below. With that, I conclude my session. If you have any questions, please shoot out.
Is it possible to use checkpoints in freestyle projects?
No. Checkpoint is a step that comes as part of the pipeline project. So it's not possible to use it in freestyle.
What are the big failures here?
Means
what are the problems you faced while setting up your project, or what are the these are the ways not to follow?
Usually when you set up in load balancer, right? Especially we tried SAML configuration for integrated Windows authentication. So that means we don't want the user again to go and key in their username and password.
that in IWA, wherein the reverse proxy was broken. So the scheme HTTPS, even though the TLS termination happens at the load balancer, so usually you have your HTTPS certificate installed at the load balancer, and from load balancer to your Jenkins server, it is plain text. Because both are in the same network, it is okay to have this configuration. But if both are on a different public network, you need to have a encryption at both ends. But the problem with that two-end encryption is, first when it reaches at the load balancer, it has to encrypt all the values and send it to the client, backend server. Then it has to decode again. At the backend server, it will not be able to get the exact client IP address where it is originating from. So it will always get the load balancer IP. So that's why when you have it in the LB2 backend server's plain text, the headers that you receive at the load balancer, you just and pass it to the backend server as different headers. For example, in my Jenkins Nginx configuration, yeah, I have configured a couple of headers to be rewritten and sent to the backend servers. So like the client address, right? X forwarded for. That is the original header where the request is coming from. The client IP address when he is connected via load balancer. I receive in the load balancer, I receive it as proxy add X forwarded for as the header and rewrite it as a X forwarded for and send it to the backend server in Jenkins. Okay, and Jenkins web server has to take that value and put it in the access log. Fine. No. Pipeline is a chain of stages. That is simple. There are different jobs in Jenkins. It started with freestyle, you can do anything. The advancement to the job today is a pipeline job. It is one of the job type in Jenkins now, which gives you visual, as we have seen just now. It is one pipeline job.
Sessions are available in YouTube.
No, what do you mean the job? No, I think you have different meaning there. That's why you're trying to put different jobs. So job is meant to do something for you. Okay, you say, for me, if I start with freestyle, right? I'll pull my code from Git repository.
Yes, it's already shared. You can go on.
You can do that provided there are connectivity between these two jobs. Pipeline will always have a dependency against the previous step. If you have two projects in two different form files, are there any connections here? If there are no connections, you don't want to put it in the same pipeline job. Okay, suppose if you say first form needs to execute first, then the second job taking the output, the jar file built from job one, second one, then you can make the first job as one pipeline stage, second job as the pipeline stage 2. That may be possible. Okay, right after this one, when we have free time, we can get you more clarification. You had some doubts. Did I clarify that for you?
Okay, I put the question here. I want to import into my pipeline. How can I import? Okay. So everything is pure Groovy. There is no other things.
Okay.
Nothing is involved. So
when I try to execute the Groovy code in a normal Groovy environment, it's working. It into the pipeline, it says it's not supporting.
Because all the Groovy scripts you are trying on the Jenkins is on the Jenkins JVM, Jenkins session, within the Jenkins session. Okay, and when it does, what all the jar files, the library files available for Jenkins, it knows what methods, what functions are to be fetched from and execute for it. You have a library that is not part of your Jenkins. That means during your Jenkins startup, you can add class path to your libraries, part of your Jenkins JVM.
I got your point, but I'm saying that, see, I have not imported any packages. It's not like a non-standard packages or any of the external packages. Okay, it's not like no import statements is there. Okay, I'm just doing a string split.
Screen split.
String split. Splitting a string. Splitting a
String split, okay.
Okay, it doesn't need any external library. That is working out of the box in a normal Groovy. But when I try to put it into pipeline, it's saying it's unsupported.
The possibility could be is that what you have tried on your environment, maybe the Groovy version, and what the Groovy version in your standalone environment, and what the Groovy version in the Jenkins JVM.
Okay.
Okay.
The other question is actually when I try to run a pipeline, it is.
We don't be discussing.
Can we take that right after the session closure? Everyone for your active participation here, and I hope that see you again.
Thank you, Sahai and Bharat, for
Just
taking
look
the
out for the
wonderful
meetup page. Next workshop will post it there. So go out or like no, yeah, and so before that for next workshop, I have a AWS free tier account, and then so ensure that you have the RPM file for Linux 62. We'll be using RHEL7, so that will be our OS AMI. So ensure that you have a free tier account and create a T2 like